Yo, he's one step closer, man. Shiryu, Fujitora, Mihawk, y'all are next. My boy just made a statement, a declaration with his three blades, which were leaking Conqueror's coding. I'm coming. I'm on the way. Like he told King in this week's chapter, you had your time. You had your time on top. You did what you had to do. You had your opportunity to go out and conquer these seas. But now it's our turn. Now it's our turn. Zoro is nasty, and I look forward to talking about that later on in the week, talking more about how much I enjoyed this battle and whatnot. But for right now, Kaido becomes more and more fascinating as these weeks progress, man. This one page got me so excited to see whatever it is we're going to see in Luffy versus Kaido in regards to his flashback. We have had so many little tidbits of dialogue and information sprinkled throughout this arc that has led us to believe certain things about Kaido. And I cannot wait to get that full flashback. But today I want to talk about, specifically I want to center this afterthoughts around this one page, and we're going to go through panel by panel, because this is a very, very important flashback for future implications in regards to Kaido's flashback and who Kaido is. And because Kaido fascinates me so much as a character, I really wanted to spend some time going through this. And so this first part, I'm not even going to lie to y'all, it kind of blew my mind. But it mainly blew my mind because of the thought process that I had going into this chapter. So we had been talking about it in previous afterthoughts, honestly, since like chapter 10, 13. It's been a long time coming, right? We brought up a lot of this stuff for Kaido, Void Sentry implications, how he knows this information, all that stuff. But in this week's chapter, we start off the flashback with King, with him stating, "You're a Lunarian," which means he already knew King was a Lunarian before he met him, which is already very important and key. Because I initially thought whenever he met him, whether that be at God Valley, wherever it is that he met King, that he figured out that information either through King or the circumstances surrounding King. But he didn't. He already knew about that before this took place. And so he says, you're a Lunarian, and also that the WG is not going to let this man go. And so what does that mean? That tells me that Kaido already knew this information, either after he was betrayed and he went out and maybe figured out a lot of the world's history on his own, the Rocks told him, or he figured it out on the journey with Rocks, or number 3, he saw it with his own 2 eyes. He saw what the WG is capable of doing to the Lunarians and how important they are to the overall spectrum of the world, because he might have seen what they actually do to these individuals whenever they figure out they exist. So it's like, how does he know this information? And that's so intriguing to me because it adds another layer of intrigue to Kaido. Because we've already seen this stuff with Rocks, and we know we're building towards something huge. With the God Valley incident, Rocks, the scale of morality, all that stuff, trust and betrayal, even more so after this week's chapter. But the very idea of him knowing this information prior to this tells me, and just the way that he states it too, he's like, yo, they're not going to let you go, I know. It's like almost like, I know, I've seen it firsthand. Trust me, they're not going to let you go. Either you head out with me or you're staying here forever as one of their experiments, man. And it's like, man, dude. So a lot of very interesting stuff. Following that up immediately, with Kaido stating his declaration, he didn't have a crew at this point, which I'm going to assume means this is either after he was betrayed or he did the betraying or saw the betraying happen. Because there's 3 scenarios. Either he was betrayed, he did the betraying, or he saw somebody else get betrayed. He states to form so he went out to form his own crew after this and whatnot. And of course, he got King first, in the same way that Roger got Rayleigh first, Luffy got Zoro first. We see Kaido gets King first. Tells him like, yo, let's get out of here. And he states his declaration. Now, this is very, very important. Because in Roger and Rayleigh's case, and in Luffy and Zoro's case, as they were going to embark on this journey with them, they both stated something very outlandish that made them be like, hold up, these are ambitious individuals. Roger stating, let's turn the world upside down, and Luffy stating, I'm going to become the king of the pirates. What does Kaido state? Goes right here. And I love this piece of dialogue from King's perspective, where he's basically asking him, like, yo, what makes you believe that you can change the world? Why do you think that you can do this, right? I can only imagine the amount of things that they did to this individual. And he's probably questioning the entire system and structure of this verse, especially if he already knows the truth. If King already knows what happened to the rest of his race and what the WG did, what the Celestial Dragons did in erasing these individuals, then he's probably already questioning everything, right? So it's like, what makes you think that you can do anything about this? And Kaido's response to that is that he's the only one. He is the only individual capable of changing these things. And it's like, yo, that adds a new layer of ambition to Kaido. And it's just like, what changed? Because you see, he states these things. And then going back to our conversation about Kaido and Luffy and Kaido and Joy Boy, about him being like, oh man, maybe Luffy could have been, Joy Boy for real. And now whenever he's fighting him on the roof again, I'm sure he's going to bring up that thing once more, and it's going to lead more into his flashback. But it just really got me thinking about this whole Kaido and Joy Boy thing again, with the smile fruit and his initial ambitions and what changed. What changed? Because we see how depressed he gets at certain points, that his level of ambition, even though he clearly values strength and wishes to be the strongest, it's almost, not that he became complacent, but like he lost his... See, I can't even say that because he still wants to become the king of the pirates. Obviously, he still wants to go get the One Piece with Big Mom. But it's like, with the Joy Boy thing, it kind of changes things, because when he says, so you couldn't become Joy Boy either, it's like, man, so I couldn't do it, and you can't do it either. But of course, he's going to come to that realization that, of course, Luffy, if he is to carry that torch, then he's going to see it within Luffy too, which is whenever Luffy's going to reject that idea. But I'm so interested on what changed Kaido. Like, what set of circumstances, after he set out on this journey, he was probably extremely optimistic and ready to take on the world. What changed him to become the way that he is now? Like, I'm so curious. So curious. Because, like I said, the ambition is still there. But at that point where he said, I'm the only one that can, it kind of goes back, like I said, to that line, with the Joy Boy line. And it's like, hold up. If you're the only one who can, then why aren't you Joy Boy? Why are you looking specifically for an individual that can become Joy Boy? So it's fascinating stuff. Very fascinating stuff. And I can't wait to see what this is all leading towards. Of course, the overall main thing this is leading towards is Kaido and Luffy's confrontation, where he tells him, so you really were Joy Boy after all. Luffy rejects the idea, telling him the same thing he's told him throughout this entire arc, which is, I'm Luffy, I'm going to become King of the Pirates. That's who I am. I'm not trying to become this dude. I'm not trying to become this Joy Boy figure. I am who I am. I'm going to become King of the Pirates. And so I wonder if that's going to change Kaido's mentality. He's going to be like, maybe that's what changed for me. Maybe I tried so hard to become this Joy Boy figure that it ended up changing who I was and who I actually am. You know what I mean? And so I'm curious on if that's where we're being taken with Kaido's character journey. But regardless, very, very interesting stuff there. And then to finish this off, this flashback sequence, we have this small little Oda box on top with some dialogue where it states that the test subjects are out of here. They've packed their bags. An S at the end of subject. That would imply that both Kaido and King were being tested here, which means that whatever happened with Kaido, continuing here, this man states that if you stand by me, if this man King stands by him, he ain't never gonna sell him out. Never. Why would he say that, man? Why would he say that? Why is that the first thing to come out of Kaido's mouth? Because he knows something or he feels something. Either A, he feels that he needs to tell him this because he himself has felt the wrath or the guilt of betrayal. Remember everything he said in this arc so far about trust and betrayal, being betrayed. Once individuals see that you can win, they'll betray you. All that stuff. Remember all those lines of dialogue. And now here he is with King, and he tells him, I will never betray you. Once again, what in the world happened with him and Rox, man? What happened with King or with Kaido and Rox that day in the God Valley incident? Because after that, they disbanded. So the betrayal happened there. And of course, Big Mom helped him out in that situation. And it's something that has still haunts him to this day. But the reason why I can't firmly say that he was the one that was betrayed is because this is One Piece. And the more something's implied, the more it feels like ankles will be broken. And so I'm still sticking with it being one of two scenarios. Either Kaido did the betraying, or he was betrayed. And honestly, I've been leaning more towards him doing the betraying as of late. And the reason for that is because Kaido constantly drinking himself to sleep and doing all of these things within this arc, it feels like a guilty mind. And it's not just a guilty mind for the stuff I can imagine that he must have done to Yamato, for example, maybe even to his wife, which I have no idea where she is. You know, it feels like it goes further beyond that. This feels like something that has stuck with him for years, like years on years, and it's just continuous things being built upon other things. So I'm really starting to be of the belief that I might be leaning more towards Kaido being the one that did the betraying on that day in God Valley, which would mean that, but it's like, why? Why do the betraying there? I know he's an ambitious individual. He obviously, maybe he didn't see Rox as the individual who could become the king of the world, and so he was like, you know what? We're losing today. Roger and Whitebeard, they're doing their thing, or Roger and Garp, they're doing their thing. Let me get out of here. Let me get out of here, and maybe Big Mom helped him. They were the ones who did the betraying and got Rox defeated. You know what I mean? Maybe Whitebeard was the only one that stayed with Rox. But, or it could have been, you know, that Kaido was the one that was betrayed on that day or whatever. It could end up being like a sad situation where Rox, maybe he was an actual like good dude, which is what I believe was the case. But Rox was a good dude who betrayed Whitebeard, Big Mom, and Kaido to ensure their safety. There's a lot of different scenarios that could play out there. But what I'm trying to get to is the concept and the idea of betrayal has to come from something that Kaido feels so deeply about that he brings it up in his very first conversation with his first hand, or with his right hand. So it's like, you're my right hand man now, and I will not betray you. And it's like he's experienced this himself, which once again goes back into the things we've been talking about with this arc. But it's like, how, why, what? How did all that happen? How in the world did all that happen? And I'm so excited. I cannot wait to see how that ends up being the case and what led to those circumstances. And that's why Kaido's flashback is, that's one of the things I'm most excited for in the series at this point. I mean, Kaido's flashback is going to hit different. After this week's chapter, I already felt that way beforehand. I feel that way even more strongly about that now. Like, can't wait. Can't wait. And it was really cool seeing King declare Kaido as king of the pirates this week. He was like, Kaido is the man who will become king of the pirates. That hit home because when I went back and reread the chapter, I thought about Kaido's idea and concept of betrayal as he presents it throughout this arc. You know, I think it was chapter 987 whenever he did that Thanos speech where he talked about that initially, right? And all little tidbits and little pieces that we've gotten throughout all of it, but it's something that he feels, right? It's something obviously that has stuck with him through all these years and he takes very seriously. That's why I'm pretty sure the reason why he breaks the spirits of these individuals is so that he knows they will not betray them. He's gotten to this point where he's so strong where these individuals will fear and rue the day that they betray this man. And so it's like, man, the fact that King, while, I mean, it's not like he was losing, but he was fighting a very formidable opponent in Zoro here, who eventually gave him the L. But it's like, even then, in the face of imminent destruction, in the face of getting destroyed, in the face of getting pwned, he still stuck with it and was like, yo, you know what? Kaido's the man who's going to become king of the pirates. And I love that line because it hits different after this flashback. You're like, yo, these dudes have been together from day one. Kaido took King to Marineford. He's always trusted King the most. When King does things outside of his jurisdiction, he believes in him. He's like, you know what? He's doing things for a purpose, for our own good. He believes in his men. As we saw in the latest anime episode, in the way that he treated Jack, he treats those whom he found right. He treats them right. And it adds this new layer to Kaido that I just can't wait to see explored further in his flashback. Kaido versus Luffy obviously is going to be a banger. Cannot wait for Goat with the Coat versus Kaido Awesome Sauce. It's going to be a 10-star classic. I'm expecting best fight in the entire series up until this point, right? But in the midst of that, one of the things I'm looking forward to seeing the most is answers to these questions. Answers to the questions in regards to the island, why the island is so important, why the area, as he stated multiple times, is so important to him, which obviously is going to have more further implications to this entire thing, with like Onigashima, ores, all that stuff. But above all things, just the Kaido knowing certain things before he met King. The idea of him wanting to start a crew after all of this, and of course, him, Vegapunk experimenting on both King and Kaido has also implications too. Because if he experimented on King, that would mean that he was attempting to replicate the Lunarian race as well, and take some of that energy and to put it into something else. Which means, if, let's just say Vegapunk shared that DNA, that Lunarian DNA, he shares it with Judge. And he's like, you know what, Judge? Here is some Lunarian DNA. Or maybe they wanted to test it on the failure. So they were like, I'm all Sanji as a Lunarian, right? So he goes in. Vegapunk possibly is like, you know what? Give this to your failure. Give this to the one child that you think is not gonna be anything. He was like, all right, I'll do it. I'll give it to Sanji. And so he gave the Lunarian injection, the Lunarian whatever, to Sanji. And now we're gonna see that coming into fruition. That's just a theory, son. You know what I'm saying? It's just a theory. But it is interesting that that King was experimented on, because what that goes to show is that they attempted to extract certain Lunarian qualities from him. And in Kaido's case, we saw they successfully did that in recreating his fruit, which of course Momonosuke has now. So it's just, I can't wait to see what all of this is, all the payoff to everything that we saw within this chapter, in the flashback in particular. King and Kaido, greatness right there, man. God, man, what an awesome, like, just additional part of this already awesome chapter. I mean, the chapter could have just been Zoro and King throwing hands, and I would have been cool with it. But the fact they added this new layer to King and Kaido in the midst of this was excellent. And I cannot wait for more. Kaido's flashback's gonna bang. Zoro versus King was incredible. Cannot wait to see that in the anime. But yeah, man, that is it for this week's Afterthoughts. You'll have an awesome day. Let me know what y'all think about any of this in the comment section down below. King and Kaido, man. Intriguing stuff. Very, very interesting stuff. Let me know what y'all think about the whole concept of betrayal in regards to Kaido and what happened there. I know we've spoken about it in multiple different points, but as we gain new information, it continues to be brought up, and I just can't wait to see the payoff to all of this, right? Exciting stuff is incoming. I'll see y'all next time. Have an awesome day, y'all.